One of my favorite things on atheist channels are their stories of how they became atheists or what set them on the path to skepticism. So I thought I'd impart my story. I won't tell the religion I was indoctrinated into as a child because someone of another religion will say, well, of course, I can understand why you would doubt that crap, but my religion is different. No, it's not. For my story, the religions all rely on a concept of karma. They all use different words for it. Chastisement, you weren't faithful enough, God's testing you. No matter what they call it, it boils down to if you do bad, God will do bad to you whether in this life or the next. The religion I grew up in taught a version of karma that occurred in this world as well as the next. If you did a bad thing commensurate with it would befall you. The flip side of this, if taken to its logical conclusion, is that if you never do bad, bad things will never happen to you, on earth or in the afterlife. What are bad things? Everything painful you can imagine. Stubbing your toe, getting sick, losing your wallet, or your favorite teddy bear. I was a relatively bright child. At a very young age, contradiction was something I couldn't ignore. Absurdity was something I couldn't gloss over. I couldn't say, even as a very young kid, well, I'll find out when I die. My religion had begun drumming the concept of hell and eternal torment into me the second I was weaned from my mom's tit. It terrified me no end. It kept me up nights. I prayed and begged God not to send me there. Every day of my life was a paranoid fixation on committing the slightest infraction against God and it torturing me beyond human conception for all time, in this life and the next. I was the best child you'd ever meet. Why? As a child, I literally had no concept of bad. How you do it and to what. This was never explained to me. Although I did have an intuitive sense of what bad was when bad happened to me. I had a piggy bank my parents brought me for my birthday. I had filled this thing religiously. I loved my piggy bank. I took it everywhere with me. A bunch of us from the neighborhood were playing hide and seek. After the games were over, I went to retrieve my piggy bank. I searched and I found it crammed into a crevice of rocks. Empty. Broken into. I was crushed. I ran to my parents flabbergasted by this. I asked what happened and why. The gist of the conversation was this. I was told that God was punishing me for something bad I had done. It occurred to me that that was what I was to avoid. That was bad. Doing things like this to other people. I asked what I had done bad to someone. I was told whatever it was, you did it. What? I was then told there's no more to say, patted on my head and told to forget it. I then racked my brain to figure out what I had done bad to someone. I could think of nothing. Later I killed a fly or a spider or something, some insect. In my mind it clicked I had just done something bad to that insect. I couldn't think of anything bad I'd ever done to a person, but I've killed plenty of insects. That's why I was punished. I stopped killing insects. Unfortunately, bad shit continued to happen to me. I would stub a toe, twist an ankle, I dislocated a finger. I hadn't done anything bad. Why was this happening to me? I should be protected from harm. The final straw, my mom sent me to the store to buy a loaf of bread. The store was only a couple blocks away and I'd been a million times. This time was different. A man walked up to me and robbed me, took the money out of my pocket and told me to get the fuck out of here. I was raised without a concept of being robbed. I had no idea what had just happened to me. It wasn't the same as the bank in my mind. I didn't connect the dots. I went home, told my mother someone took the money. I'm like, what was that? Believe it or not, I thought maybe she had sent this guy to get the money from me, to get the bread himself. I was cured of that notion quickly when she told me I was robbed. He was a criminal. She said some people are bad and do bad things. And don't worry, God will punish him for it. Some of you can probably see where this is going. I mulled this over in my head. According to Mom, he did something bad. To me, which means I deserved it for something I had done bad. Wait. What had I done bad? Nothing. And if I had and I deserved it, then he wasn't doing anything bad. But wait, my mom said he did do bad. So if he was doing good to me, who was he doing bad to? To my mom? Of course it was her money. But if bad happened to my mom, how was that bad? Didn't she deserve it for doing something bad to someone else? But if that's the case, there is no bad. All bad is good because God is punishing people for being bad. These are the thoughts that flooded my mind as a child. And my only conclusion to all of this was that it didn't make any sense. And I was a skeptic from that point on. I wasn't skeptical of God. I stopped believing in my parents. I realized they were lying to me. I never trusted a thing that came out of my parents' mouths for years. Why didn't I distrust God instead? Because I was in mortal fear of God. I was completely and totally terrified of it. But the more I learned about God, the less sense God made. Whenever I was in the house of worship with my family and congregants, they and the ministers would spout the same nonsensical stuff. I would stare at these people asking myself, how can they believe this crap? One day I'm in the house of worship. Everyone's intently listening to the minister as he spouts contradiction after contradiction, absurdity after absurdity. I'm listening to this and looking around at everyone in the room. I'm asking myself, am I the only one hearing this? I was then hit with an epiphany. These people are all insane. Can you imagine being in a room surrounded by at least 100 people and discovering they are all bipolar, schizophrenic lunatics? Or if not, something just as bad. I realized I was still amongst them in body and spirit. Why? I no longer believed anything in their holy book. The conclusion to this question? I was in fear of their non-existent deity. It was at this point I was relieved of all dread, and became, I later discovered, an atheist, and later still a secular humanist. I was still too young to tell my parents to go to hell when they told me to get dressed for service, but I was no longer among them in spirit.